Hey, we are coming at you on this beautiful day with a brand new episode.
Beautiful cloudy day in California.
Yeah, I mean, it
rained today again.
It's a beautiful day. We're alive. We're kicking.
Yeah.
After a wild night. Shout out to my brother and Jeremiah for this awesome night. We, shared in. Shout out to sister-in-law whose birthday we celebrated. Awesome time.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday. Anyway.
I was not there.
Well,
so.
Yeah, well, I mean, it was like one of those like last minute setup deals, but it was awesome.
It's a shame that there's not a device on this earth that you can pick up and be like, hey, what are we
on the way from work, I'm coming like it's 10, it's 10:30, right? You pick up at 10:30.
I would. If it was
like,
you.
Oh.
If you called, I'd be like, okay, he either needs me to work the fish fry tomorrow, or there's something going on.
Well, so let's get back to this.
Next time.
Yeah, next time. So, welcome to a brand new episode of The Doorman. We are you guys. I am Evangelist, and with me,
Steven in the building.
Always. You know what? We were, what's the word? We were scrambling the brain. We were in search for ways to frame our brilliance, to bring to you.
Wow.
So that we could all leave this session better.
Yep.
Better for it, right? This session being us rambling, because that's what we do here, right? We share with you our thoughts, giving you the opportunity to take it in, criticize it. Hopefully we hear your criticism one day.
Yeah.
And then, in turn we can make our adjustments. If adjustments need to be made, right?
Until then, we're going to assume that we're correct.
Right.
And you guys are just not following suit.
Because the amount of data that we have within our storage.
Useful data, useless data.
Ah,
so with our powers combined,
it's all Captain Planet.
Yes.
Jesus, gotta love that. Anyway, so we were racking the brain prior to the recording. We decided to ask you, the listener, what agreements can we come to? What agreement can we come to as to how to act in this world today, right?
Yeah.
At one point, everyone agreed that there were, let's say, genders. Everyone agreed that there were two genders, right?
Uh-oh.
Now, we can't agree.
No. You can't agree on any number any day of the week.
At one point, we could at least agree that we were all Americans and we were pushing forward to come to a more united understanding of what this America could be. Mm-hmm. Now, we can't agree on that.
Well, now the agreement's almost reverse, right?
Right.
The agreement now is almost like, let's make it not America anymore.
Right.
Let's go furthest away from the core values that this country was built on. Let's just go as far away from that as we can.
Right.
And then we'll be in a better place.
To rebuild towards something, right?
Mm-hmm.
Question is, what is it that you're trying to, or what is it that is being proposed? The rebuilding look like after it's been destroyed, after this system that we've known all our lives, right? Again, it's not been perfect. It's not been a perfect system. Nothing on planet Earth.
Oh man.
Nothing on planet Earth.
Whew. That was good. It's not a perfect system.
Yeah.
It's pretty fucking close.
Right. Nothing on planet Earth is perfect, right? I don't think the design of this physical existence was geared towards perfection, right? There's things that are more efficient, and I think as human beings, I think that's where you we are moving together. Hopefully,
well, you can look at something as basic as the automobile, right?
Mm-hmm.
When it was first designed, they probably thought that was perfect.
Right. Okay.
The first car that was ever built, that individual that built that car was not thinking this is the end all be all of transportation.
Right.
Now you look at from that first car to now, and you're just like, now it's electric and it runs on vegetable oil or the tears of small children will start your car. Whatever fucking bullshit next scheme is. And it's not always the better thing to be the newest thing, I guess, right? Like they would say, don't reinvent the wheel, or don't fix what's not broken.
Right.
Automobiles are not broken.
Sure.
They wanted this green thing,
Mm-hmm.
this electric cars, and it's not working very well because there's a lot of problems with electric cars. You need to charge those cars,
Mm-hmm.
and in particular in our own state. I can't speak for the rest of the states of this country, but the grid in California is weak
Mm-hmm.
now.
Right.
If it got really cold here, really cold, like 20s cold, and everybody had their heaters on, a lot of people would freeze.
We currently lack the infrastructure, is what you say.
Mm-hmm.
We lack the infrastructure to make this green movement possible.
Right.
But let's take a look at this journey of the automobile, right? Of course, gas powered. What's the umbrella term for crude oil? Crude oil powered internal combustion engines, right? Along the line, there were other people who came up with ideas that we'd heard about stories of hydrogen engines being a thing,
Mm-hmm.
and then the evil oil companies would try to do away with this
Right.
technology so that they could monopolize on crude oil being the sole power mechanism or power source. So this whole journey, right, of the vehicle, right, of its evolution, not journey, but the evolution of the vehicle, right, it's not been by any means perfect, right? There's been, because people have the tendency towards evil, right, when it suits them. So it's a possibility that there was this conspiracy to hijack the technology of other energy sources, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then so now that we've identified crude oil as this, or fossil fuels as this evil, and now we're trying to move towards green. There's all types of barricades we're running into.
Yeah.
Because we've leaned on this crude oil technology for so long, fossil fuel technology for so long, or maybe for other reasons. Maybe fossil fuel is a more available source.
Well, it's available, but you got to also look at, even before electric cars, there's so many different types of fuel.
Right.
There was regular gas, then there's regular unleaded.
But were they all not?
But then you have diesel,
Mm-hmm.
and then here comes E85, which is ethanol.
Okay.
Which is the cheapest gas you can find now.
Mm-hmm.
It's $2.89,
Mm-hmm.
but only certain cars are made for that, right? So I think most Chevys between 2010 and 2017 are E85 capable. They have a yellow gas can. But my whole point is that there's been so many different times in between the first car and now that people have tried to come up with alternate ways to fuel the vehicle.
Mm-hmm.
That gas and crude oil has always come out on top, right?
Yeah.
Always. Even with the technology we have now, I don't think electric cars are the future. It's so hard to think.
Well,
that's
I mean,
possible.
as far as performance goes, right? Teslas move pretty well, right? You can go from 0 to 60 in like seconds.
Right, for only an hour before you got to pull over and charge the fucking
Sure,
thing.
but so, you know, what would the need be in that case, right? The need would be for the infrastructure to be built,
Right.
for more funds to be funneled into that project of creating a more substantial infrastructure to power this shit.
Yeah,
right?
and I guess they're going about the wrong way. They're putting the cart before the horse in the situation where here's what we want to get to. By the way, we can't get to it, or we can't utilize these until this is done. So you didn't build the basement or the base first.
Right, the foundation.
You built the roof.
Right.
You know.
Right.
And it's they that old, I forgot who said it, but when people started talking about taking down the statues and stuff, and said you can't take down the 10 floors of a building that's been there for hundreds of years and expect that building to stay straight up. If you take the foundation away, you now have nothing holding up that building, so it falls. And that's what's happening now, is that there's so many different ways that people are trying to better this country that they're just stepping over the foundation. Really,
I agree. Right, I agree in that they're people are trying to better the, but I don't think they're trying to better the country in a way that it's, like you said, sustainable. What I think they're doing is they're framing the picture conveniently for themselves, right? Because what we have today is this culture of comfort and convenience, right? To sit behind these devices, it is much more fulfilling. It's much more convenient, you know, for lack of a better word, much more convenient than to actually go out and do or create something that would actually better. Right? It's much easier to sit behind these screens, fulfill all of these little desires, these urges, these impulses that we have, right? And create nothing than to go out and put in the effort and the work to see something that may need attention, to create, you know, and then to come up with a solution to move towards a betterment of whatever it is you're looking at, right? It's easier to sit back here and criticize, as we, you know, I'm guilty of that. I'll say that.
Yeah,
I'm guilty of that. So, you know, again, we didn't intend to discuss cars. We didn't intend to discuss any real subject outside of the question: how do we move forward? How do we move forward in an agreement that a plan is better for, or a way of life is the best way to go to move forward, right? I mean, I think we've asked the question before in previous episodes, like, is this the best way to move forward, or is that the best way to move forward? I'm asking, what would be the best way to move forward?
Yeah.
Right? What do we as people need to be doing, right, in order that we can all come to an agreement and define ourselves as, let's say, Americans first and foremost, because we all live in this country, the United States of America. So how can we move forward? How can we say, hey, this is the best plan as an American? This is the best way to move forward, right? And of course, we're going to go back to very spiritual concepts, biblical concepts, in promoting things like love, promoting things like, courage, perseverance, stuff like that. You know, these are the best things that are going to move us forward. Acceptance of one another. But I mean, what does that look like? What does it truly? What does that picture really look like, right? So, you know, Stephen and I, we come together weekly, and we want to. I think we speak to you in an attempt to better ourselves.
Yeah.
Right? Because I had a conversation with my niece, and she gave it a term where you are projecting. You project onto other people. You project yourself onto other people, and I think that's basically what we do, right?
I spit gems.
But you spit gems.
You project.
Absolutely. I project, right? And again, what do we do here? We're talking. We're stumbling in the dark for ways to make something better.
Yeah.
Make the world a better place.
Because it's difficult to, it's difficult to look at anything nowadays and see that somebody's trying to make it better by just perpetuating the bullshit that hasn't been working for years, right? Like, I hate to open this up, but it's just like anything, like there's no self-preservation anymore.
Right.
There's no accountability. There's no responsibility. there's nothing. Like it's so hard for me to think that anybody who was alive in the, if there was a person on this earth that was 200 years old, they'd probably be like, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's like if you just constantly like rest on a value that you think you're right no matter what, without bending at all, like it's never gonna get better. Nothing's ever gonna get better if you always think you're right and you don't listen to other people and you don't take into account other people's viewpoints. And it's just like racism. It's never gonna go away unless you stop talking about it.
Well, so let's take that concept, right? So again, we talk about the evolution of a car. We delve into the evolution of what it means to be an American, right? So racism existed. It existed. Slavery existed, right? We can fast forward into the times where Samoans, my people, first started coming, to we call it the mainland, right? Coming from the U.S. territory of Samoa, American Samoa, onto the mainland. It was a struggle to adapt from the stories that I hear. It was a struggle to adapt because there's a culture practiced on the rock, and then you move here, and it's a different culture practiced here. So there's a struggle, and then interacting with those who are unfamiliar with our culture. There was a struggle in acceptance. So there was an evolution of every difference coming into America. Mind you, America was created by European men to benefit other European men, right? And a European way of life, right? The idea that they were being taxed by the crown propelled them to move towards a separation, so that they could, the founding fathers could begin their own, have a fresh start, financially, I would say, right? Financially, as far as resources are concerned, right? They wanted to move from this crown that was taxing them, and they wanted to create their own situation over here. Again, these are men of European descent, and everything that they laid in the Constitution, everything, it was meant to benefit them, right? But the brilliance of it is that it was such wisdom that was put forth in this document that it worked for everyone, right? So as other cultures were able to come in and prove their what's the word? I would say, I don't want to, not worth, but prove their qualifications to participate in this system, right? Because that's basically what it was, right? there's a ton of different cultures being practiced. These men laid down a specific culture in the Constitution, and it was basically meant for the other cultures that were practiced to come in and prove that they were able to participate in this system
at that level.
At that level created by this Constitution, right? And I know people are like, oh man, that is so. It's so wrong to speak that way because everyone should be, everyone should be seen as equal. There's,
well, it's easy to say that now.
Right.
It's easy to say that in retrospect.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, to put it in a general term, if you're the guy working at the area where there's a bunch of Samoans coming, this guy's probably thinking, holy shit,
right?
Those are some big fucking dudes.
Well, I mean,
and what are you gonna? I mean, what?
Imagine the first Samoans on a construction site, walking up barefoot, laying brick, concrete, right? Ialawalawas on me. No hard hat required. I mean, come on, bro.
Just holding up the building.
I mean, but just imagine. There were hundreds of different cultures. From the, and I get it, the black slaves. That was a culture in and of itself that were brought over here involuntarily, right? So, they had to work their way up and show their worth. There were the immigrants from Europe, immigrants from Asia, came and faced all types of discrimination, and they had to rise to a level where they were seen as qualified to participate in this system. Samoans, same way, right? Look, my Uncle Rock's doing a fantastic job out there. Shout out to my dog. Anyway, it's a matter of coming into this
sellout
system, right? Rising to a level where you've proven your worth. It's done in all sorts of ways in today's society, right? You go to school, you stay within a program until you're able to graduate and show that you were able to, via tests, via you're checking for understanding.
But it's also, I think anybody's most people's natural reactions, something different, is standoffish.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, not only standoffish, we can take it to the a more extreme and say prejudice.
Yeah.
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 I mean, because that's just human nature.
Right, and that's what I'm saying. So, not saying it's right or the right thing to do or anything, but
it's natural.
Yeah, and it was evident to me for the first time, I think, where I actually saw it after September 11th, because anybody who looked like they were Muslim, was getting heckled at the very least, right?
You know who I felt bad for? Were the Sikhs. Right? There's a population of the Indian culture that wear turbans, and they're the Sikhs, but they were kind of lumped up in this, as Muslims as well. So these guys practice a totally different culture, totally different religion.
Right, based on the look.
So based on the look, these guys were just thrown into the fire with the rest of them.
Right.
But again,
people's natural reactions are that.
Yeah.
That anything different.
Yeah.
Even if, like, I'm walking to my apartment and there's somebody who's moving in that is new, my first thing is like, who the fuck are these guys?
Mm-hmm.
It has nothing to do with what they look like. Mm-hmm. It has everything to do with what the fuck are they doing here.
Right.
You know what I mean? And then you just get over it. But back in the long time ago, with the dogs and the water and all that bullshit that happened, people didn't know how to handle the change that was happening.
Sure.
So they acted aggressively. Now that is an example of what you don't do to move forward.
Sure.
But that's also too an example of kind of what I'm trying to say is like when people rest on the past, you can't move forward. And they were like, oh, you can't, you need your own water fountains, you need your own bathrooms, you can't sit here, you can't do that, you can't do this. And I would say that we've made, as a country, huge strides
Right.
in getting past that racial barrier. There's always going to be people that won't let it go. Always.
Yeah.
And there's always going to be people too that want it back the old ways.
If you listen to historical accounts, right? You know, and it's commonly known that history is written and spoken by the winner, right? But if you listen to historical accounts, there was a time where war was a norm.
Yeah.
You were with a specific group, and you could guarantee that wandering through an area occupied by another group, you are declaring war. Because you are different, you are unlike the people who live there, and they were going to challenge you in this really aggressive way.
Right.
A fight, a physical fight, using weapons, right? Every now and then I listen to this podcast or I listen to this channel called Kings and Generals on YouTube, and they give the historical account of how different societies came to be, right? Like the Rus, for example, right? The Rus are actually Vikings that moved towards into the Eastern European areas, right? So they brought with them a lot of that the Norse ways, but as they began to settle in those areas and mix with the different cultures around them via war, this Rus that later became Russia, this Rus culture developed, very warlike, right? So fast forward to America, right? Like after the 1600s, if people want to talk about the beginnings of slavery, it was a war, right? So no one volunteered to be a slave. You came into it after having been conquered, right? So if the conquest, if you didn't want to live as the conquered, then you fought and died. Right. So it was a war. Some people accepted the results of the war. Some people didn't.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, but war is war.
Right.
So as time went on, our culture became more civilized. Right. The air quote civilized, because war was no longer the only option. Right. Civilized conversations could be had. Ideas could be shared.
Weren't the gladiators slaves?
Absolutely. They were slaves. They were captured slaves.
Right.
And then in order to...
From countries of different...
Right.
That were lost generals or whatever, that ended up being slaves to Rome to fight games for the pleasure of others.
But instead of working, right, they were tasked with entertainment via what they were known to do. These were like captured soldiers. So hey, what do soldiers do? They fight. So they're like, hey, you can earn your freedom via, and again, this is the version of history that we're familiar with as far as gladiators are concerned.
Says the movie Spartacus.
Says the movie Gladiators.
Well, that too.
Are you not entertained?
Yeah. But I mean, slavery's been around in many different forms since the dawn of time, right? I mean, you're gonna have the guy who was on the cavemen, right? The guy who was a little dopey, maybe he was a little slow,
right?
Ended up being the guy who was doing everything,
right?
Then you gotta have the Indians and the the gladiators, and then current times, and it's never not going to be there. The only way it slowly goes away is if you stop using it as an excuse as to why something's not going your way.
But let's talk about what the potential slavery is today. Jail, but not only jail, right? Because if you get
Monday through Friday 9 to 5 jobs.
Exactly, right? 9 to 5 jobs. Let's say you get yourself into debt. We have become slaves to this consumer culture, right? And then so the instead of like being chained to something, you are definitely
digitally linked
digitally linked to a debt, right? So I mean, we can evolve as much as any species can possibly evolve, but these imperfect concepts will always be, right? The question is, and it will always be, what is the best way to be in the face of these imperfections?
Yep.
Those solutions are what we need to be focused on, right? Not the actual dwelling on the division of it, or once it's crazy to me when people offer a solution that instead of trying the solution or even trying to correct it, like the way a lot of today's young youth, they try to like scream it down, shout it down. They feel so uncomfortable with these proposals that they'll shut it out, throw tantrums, right?
Yeah.
Throw tantrums in order for it to be like it kind of reminds you of young babies, right? When sometimes they believe that if they close their eyes, they're hiding from you, right? Like, oh, it's no longer there, right? But they wake up or they open their eyes and they realize, well, I haven't gone anywhere. My parent is right here in front of me, right? Today's reaction to uncomfortable situations, or today's reaction to these hot topics, like throwing soup on fine art, or cementing yourself to the road, right? These little tactics are these childlike tactics that 3 and 4 year old babies did. But now, instead of watching 3-year-old, cute 3-year-olds do it, you're watching these grown idiots like doing this, expressing this stupidity, or at least a crazy, an insane way of expressing their disagreement.
And for what though? And for what, right?
Well,
like you are upset about oil. Let's say you're upset about
it's
the
mostly
environment.
about climate. Yeah,
Right, you're upset about the climate. So
Right.
your solution, as we sit here talking about solutions moving forward,
How
your
can
solution is to grab a can of pea soup and go to a museum and cover art. What in the fuck does that have to do with anything?
What?
If that's not the biggest look at me,
Right.
look
What
what I'm
results?
doing. Right.
What result? Okay, you gain attention. You get people to look at you, just so you can say, "Hey, I am angry about this practice that's going on." Okay, and then what? Right? What have you actually accomplished? Right. What good have you made towards your own cause? Right? Are you actually getting people to stop and say, "Hey, we need to." Because this person, this young brave person threw soup on an art gallery, we need to listen. No, what happens is you're viewed as insane. You're viewed as
right, because
nonsensical.
If you take that reason that they're upset out of the mix,
right,
that is something somebody who's certified to be insane does.
Yeah,
there's no method to that at all, and it's just like now it's if you have a cause, you are allowed to do or say whatever you want.
Yeah,
and you're allowed to say that, and since it's so cool to be part of the crowd that is acceptance and everybody's welcome, you have now put aside common sense. And I know common sense doesn't exist, it's a myth.
It's a myth.
But you put aside common sense for our sake of the argument, to now include everybody, to now have drag shows at preschools. Do you see where the line of like lunacy is going? What's next? What can possibly be next? Because somebody is not going to be accepting of this current inclusivity.
How, instead of, okay, so again, the question here today is, what can we do to move forward and reach some type of an agreement? So I think
Start over.
Well, that's what their suggestion is.
No.
To destroy
like
what is and to start over fresh.
I'm talking about the common sense side, to just split the world.
War.
Split the world.
Civil war.
Split the world.
That's what you're suggesting.
Split the world.
Civil war is what you suggest.
Yeah, because they wouldn't last 30 fucking seconds.
I mean, you know.
What are you gonna do? Throw soup on me?
You're gonna cement yourself to me?
Yeah. You're gonna concrete yourself to the ground and just run your ass over.
I don't know, man. Look, so in the spirit of coming up with a solution, right? We'll just point out the different flaws that we see, right? So, like, let's say this drag queen reading idea, right? The drag queen concept is a nuanced, very complex idea that adults eventually in the constant questioning of themselves, adults come to these realizations that they want to engage in this act of dressing up as men dressing up as a woman. Okay, the idea that you want to introduce this very complex concept to children, and children are already in a state of confusion. They're already unfamiliar with the societal norms being presented to them.
Right.
So the idea that you're going to present another more complex concept to these children is
maniacal.
Maniacal? Yeah, that's a good word to describe it. But I think it's brutal. It's. I mean, we talk about the vulnerability of children.
You gotta think about it like this: how long did that person who's in drag come to that decision? How long did it take for them
it probably
to come to that conclusion for them to be comfortable,
right,
to leave their house looking like a Halloween character,
right,
and going to school and reading to children?
And now you want to introduce the idea to a child who has so many questions of their own outside of this drag practice,
right?
Like then you're introducing that lifestyle to the child, and it's absolutely.
And what for? I don't understand what the reasoning is. So the kids can be accepting of it.
I don't know. Again, but it's a very like conceptually, it's complex, right? Because okay, let's talk about some of the complexities. I know we say that gender and all of these gender expressions are social constructs, right? That's what these, that's this idea that began from this postmodernist free thought experiment, and we've come to this kind of place where anything can be thrown out. Any agreement that once was accepted can be thrown out. All these things are all these free ways of being and free means of expression should absolutely be accepted. Okay, that the fact that we came to accept something is a complex idea to a child. It's a complex idea for a child to understand that, hey, this is something like this mode of being as a boy or this mode of being as a girl is something that we've grown to accept, and these were the values attached to these modes of being, right? Because women who were born with a womb have the ability to bring forth children into the world, right? So because that was the case, certain ideas were accepted around the girl, and then certain ideas were accepted around being a boy. So these complex things for children have to be taken into consideration.
Right.
And then you want to introduce something
that that literally puts them both in the same dish.
Right. It's cruel. It's cruel request that a child take all of this into consideration.
Right, and I also saw a video of somebody doing like a fucking striptease at a preschool.
Yeah.
And they were doing it, and the kids are little, right?
Yeah.
Little kids.
Yeah.
Almost tiny kids. Probably can't speak or put a sentence together.
Right.
But the comments and they were look how accepting the babies are. It's like, what the fuck are you talking about? They're in a room.
They don't know.
They're in a room with toys and their parent.
And
With this
the big dragon.
With here comes fucking
Here's Bert.
here comes Reggie in a dress, and they're not even paying attention.
Right.
But
Right.
people are giving these toddlers credit for patience,
Right.
and saying, why can't adults be more like the toddlers? Because adults know better. Adults know what's right and wrong, and what should and should not be in front of kids.
You know what?
It's the same thing. You have movie ratings. A kid can't go see fucking Saw 7, but they can watch some dude dressed around with his balls hanging out of his dress. I don't understand. I don't fucking get it.
Hey, look. See, we won't even assume. All right, we won't even assume, bro. We won't even assume that listeners out there accept societal norms of men and women. We won't even assume that, right? But to expect children to like dissect all that's going on, right?
Right.
And to come to an understanding that wouldn't confuse them even more.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, it's like
they're
Shelby's kid, the youngest, Adam, the baby. He's gonna be 2. Like I'll say some things to him sometimes, like words, like, "Do you want to eat a sandwich?" And he'll go, you know what I mean? Like, you can't imagine him trying
to process.
Right. Can't imagine him trying to figure out Dwayne dressed in a fucking dress who is built like The Rock.
Bigger than his
I can't understand.
Bigger
it.
than his father.
Some thing in a dress that's bigger than me. I couldn't imagine him trying to figure that out.
Yeah.
Because the word sandwich, he doesn't know what the word sandwich is.
Right. I mean, children. I mean, not that we're any experts on child development or although I spent 22 years working with children.
Yeah, you have more than most.
I have a better understanding of because I've watched children evolve in different stages.
You have more than the Twitter fucks saying, "Look at the patience on these kids. Why can't the adults be more like the kids?"
Man, social acceptance is enough to drive a child crazy.
Right.
Just trying to figure out the nuances of social acceptance.
Right.
It's wild. In the with the hopes of socializing children, we group them up, right, in these schools and you expect them to navigate through dealing with other children. And we don't understand how difficult it can be for kids, especially children who don't have a strong foundation at home, right? Like that strong male role model and that strong female role model is absolutely key in providing a child with the strength, with the confidence,
fortitude,
to navigate this socialization via schools, right? I mean, it doesn't necessarily have to be like, it doesn't necessarily have to be a nuclear family, but if a child is exposed to those elements, that male role model that provides what traditional males do, and that female role model that provides the nurturing that traditional females do, it's key. It's paramount to again, a child navigating through these rough water social interactions. Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. So now you want to introduce all of this acceptance, this inclusivity of other ideas, right? Other cultures that, you know.
It's hard for me to figure out, as all the different genders and all the pronouns and all that shit.
Yeah.
So you know what I do instead of trying to figure it out? I don't fucking pay attention to it. I don't. Because it's impossible. Because if you learn it now, it'll change tomorrow.
Well, our point here is this, right? So how can we move forward and come into an agreement? There has to be a definitive something that we all say, okay, this is what we'll say as is what's meant, right? So when we say American, this is what's meant. When we say man, this is what's meant, and we all accept it.
Did you see that video of that lesbian girl asking one of these weird freak show people to define what a woman is?
Mm-mm.
And she said a woman is somebody who thinks internally. A woman is somebody who thinks internally that they are a woman. And the lesbian girl says, it's the worst definition I've ever fucking heard in my life. She goes, it delegitimizes my.
I saw that.
Yeah. And she's like, how? And it's just like, because I forgot the lesbian's name. We'll just call her the lesbian.
Okay.
Since the lesbian disagreed with this person who's trying to be inclusive to all, she immediately was on the defensive. And the lesbian said, because you cannot be attracted to somebody's brain.
Right.
It can be a factor. Oh, they're intelligent, or they come with a significant, conversation that is directed from their brain. Whatever.
Right.
But you cannot say that a woman is somebody who internally feels like a woman. That's not a definition.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
That's the equivalent of someone approaching you and saying, I identify with the person you should be attracted to.
Right.
Right? And demanding that you're attracted to them.
Right.
Right? That's the equivalent.
Yep.
Right? Like, oh yeah, I'm a woman. And this lesbian woman's like, well, I'm attracted to women and you are definitely not
Right.
a woman, right? But I am. And you should recognize me. No, bro.
No.
Right?
You can't like, it's like I said before, you being offended affects me not at all. It's like a pain in your leg.
Right. It's not a pain in mine.
It's gonna go, right? And I don't really give a fuck about it.
Right. Yeah, I mean, again, we're always trying to find ways.
But you mentioned the I guess the so-called nuclear family, so you don't need it. But what do you think about what Deion Sanders said about his? Because he's the head coach of CU now.
Yeah.
When he said for the quarterbacks they
want.
I thought that might have been the most idiotic thing he could have ever said.
Well, no. He's only saying out loud what a lot of people who understand what they're thinking.
But again, if he was still married to his first wife, it might carry a little more weight than somebody being divorced 4 times.
Right. Sure. So maybe he's recognizing, right? Maybe in his ability to say those things, he recognized what he's.
What position did you play in football?
Defensive tackle.
Okay, let me ask this question. If you're a defensive tackle, you're probably one of the smartest people I know. Up there. Top 10. I only know 9 people, by the way. But he said for quarterbacks and offensive linemen, they want a mother-father that's been together the whole time, a high GPA, and he said his D-line wants the exact opposite. Single mama.
Yeah. Why?
Free meals.
Yeah.
Why is a perfect question. Why would you say that?
Well, okay, this is why. So as even our coach, like our D-line coach, he wanted us to recognize the separation, the mindset that we had to be as D-linemen, right? You had to practice a more savage approach to the game than the O-lineman, than any other position in the game, We had to be the savages in that trench, right? So he's giving a more particular identity to that savagery.
I guess it's more of the fact that, again, he's been married and divorced 3 different times.
Sure.
Before his son, and he wants his son to be the quarterback from his first marriage or second marriage. How the fuck can you say that? How the fuck can you say?
Well, and this is another thing that apparently he's kind of alluding to, right? He's alluding to the idea that all of his accomplishments has enabled his kid to be this awesome person, even though him and the kid's mother is divorced, right?
Right.
So he's also like tooting his own horn at the same time by suggesting that his son be a quarterback, right?
Secondary sports question for you.
But
on the football field, who is the smartest? Who needs to be the smartest, other than the quarterback?
I would say you're either your safety or your middle linebacker.
There's a guy at work. I'll leave his name out. He said that the O-line has to be smarter, if not smarter than the quarterback.
No.
The O-line and the D-line, actually.
They don't have to be. You don't.
Bro, your fucking defensive line, your only obligation is to get to the quarterback.
Yeah.
That's
and
it.
You have to do it with such. See, and again, being a coach myself at one point, and then playing the game at one point. You wanted to introduce that job of a D lineman. You are you want to be the most savage. You have the biggest people in this competition standing in your way between you and your
goal.
Your goal.
Right.
You're the biggest people.
Right.
So you have to have the most explosive. You have to have the most powerful.
Right.
Movements in order to bust through that 300 to 350 pound dude standing in front of you, right? So use your speed, use your savagery, use this violence.
That was my whole point. Is that defensive linemen don't even know how to don't need to know how to read.
They don't need to do nothing.
They don't need to know how to read.
Right.
You just tell them the number 1-5.
That's it.
Go get them. He's like, no, because you need to know the checks and the blitz. I'm like, you fucking don't on the D line. No, you don't. No. You have 4 down D linemen. Those 4 guys' goal is to eat the quarterback.
This is how simple the identified. So if the guy's knuckles were white, meaning he was pressing down, most likely it's a run.
Yep.
If he was light on the hands,
fingertip
pass.
Yeah.
Right. That's easy recognition, easy play recognition.
Yep.
That's all you had to understand, right? Of what that fucker's gonna do, and then you respond accordingly, right? And that's it.
I told him I was bringing up. This was a couple weeks ago, but that was a good transition from Dion saying he wants to be a line of fucking dopes.
But you know what? Hey, as far as what Dion said, he's only putting a really particular, he's
I understand what you're saying. He's
particulars.
He's putting it out there. Everybody thinks.
Everybody thinks.
I get it. But for somebody like Dion, who's been divorced and married 4 different times, it's kind of like you and me giving people hair tips. It's not.
At one point, I had some flowing locks.
Well, I will tell you, you don't now. So we can't give hair tips. Or like me giving somebody dietary tips.
Right.
It just doesn't work.
Yeah. I eat it all.
I watched a movie yesterday, that new Megan movie.
Oh, what the that shit's creepy, bro.
Bro, have you seen it?
No, but
you should watch it.
Just the trailer is creepy.
You should watch it.
Yeah.
Because you should watch it only for the fact that is the route we're going, and it's the craziest thing
With
ever.
robotics?
Oh yeah, AI, all that shit.
Ouch. Creepy.
It's crazy, bro. I'll tell you. It's a modern day Chucky, right?
Yeah,
it's a doll, blah blah blah. Sure. But I will tell you what, the fact that how it ended, you're just like, oh shit.
Part 2.
No, part 2. Just how it ended was like, well, that's where we are.
Right.
And that's literally where we are now.
Yeah. I mean,
and it's the crazy shit.
And we're headed into, you know, it getting more intense.
That's
right?
what, yeah. That's what this is. So this company, you're not gonna watch it, are you?
No.
So, spoiler alert. This company makes these toys, interactive toys, that they're like Furbies. Remember Furbies?
Mm-hmm.
But they're more advanced, and they take pictures, and they listen, they learn, they eat, they shit, blah blah blah. Right?
That dog shit.
That's like toys, right? Or whatever. So this company is making them, and then they get that whole technology stolen from another company, and they make them cheaper. So this lady makes this doll for her niece, right? And you pair the doll, you do this, and then the doll is paired with you. You're the primary for that doll. So obviously the doll starts to learn, gets smarter, starts killing things, kills the neighbor's dog because it bit her, kills the neighbor because she gave her a dirty look. Takes over the building where she was made because the people who created her realized that she was not a safe toy, obviously. Ends up blah blah blah, right? So she can instantly control things. So remote start on cars, right? She walked up to a car, unlocked it, door open, remote started it, drove to the house, took over the Alexa type thing, took over all, and that's the thing too. Like people always ask, like, "Oh, you're gonna get the Nest, or you're gonna get the automatic lights?" Like, absolutely fucking not. No, I'm not. No, because of the fact that somebody's listening.
You're consolidating all of the functions of your home into one hackable.
Right, and there was one scene in there where she's like, it wasn't Alexa in the movie. It was like, whatever, Amy. Let's just say it was Amy, right? It was Amy turn on the lights and didn't turn on the lights, and she's like, I was like, whatever happened to flipping a fucking switch?
Right.
You know what I mean? The switch, nobody does.
Right.
So the whole thing, the robot gets destroyed, blah blah blah. So the movie ends with her Alexa type device. It was off, and the lights are off in the house, and she's talking to the cops, and the camera goes into the living room. It turns on, and it turns, and then the movie goes away. And that's where we are. Literally where we are. No part two. It's just gonna be everything that everybody's concerned about with Alexa listening and your phones listening and all these things. It's at that point where somebody somewhere, their job is to listen and watch to what you
and who says it's actual people?
Oh, that's what I mean.
It's probably a system.
Right.
Right.
But somebody created that system.
Right.
Right. Unless the system created itself because it's fucking learning, and I don't know.
Look. That shit freaks me out.
We should do movie reviews on our thing.
You know what? We could. Creed.
No one watch it. I can't.
Why not?
Dude, because without Apollo, it's
Come
just
on,
not
it was
right.
actually pretty good. Dude.
No.
I watched it. That was pretty good.
Creed 3?
Creed 3.
Bro, do you think when they make these movies, they're like, okay, Rock, you made a good one. Can you make 7 more?
Yeah.
And then we're going to do a spin-off.
Creativity is gone in Hollywood. It's all about remakes, and sequels, and
The Rock. It's been gone.
Uncle Rock, love you, brother.
Is he gonna fight The Rock in the next one? Fucking break. You know. Let's talk.
The Rock is like 50 something, bro.
Let's talk about The Rock's role in the Fast and Furious movies.
Okay.
Probably the cheesiest fucking shit ever.
Sure.
Ever. But the whole movies are cheesy.
But now they're bringing John Cena.
But the fact that he was driving a tank on ice, a torpedo was shot at him, and he hung out the door and put the torpedo on the ice was laughable then. And then the one where they go back to the island, and he's holding a helicopter with a chain, bro, and the other half on the tow truck, and we're supposed to believe that he's that fucking strong. Yeah. That he goes like this. Clink. Fuck out of here. Why? Why does he do that?
He's superhuman, bro.
He's not.
My Uncle Rock is superhuman.
Bro, he's super something.
Hey, Uncle Rock, man, sponsorship will be appreciated.
Hey, you want to sponsor? I'll be Team Rock all day. I'll wear it. Do you smell what the Rock is cooking? I'll wear that shirt again.
Hey, I'm in, bro. Well, I think we've definitely explain what we're looking for. Ladies and gentlemen, we're just looking for a way to be, right?
At the slightest, we've definitely stirred up some thought-provoking content.
I don't, you know me. I don't look to be thought-provoking in that way. Like, I don't want to be controversial. I just want to simply move forward as efficiently and as quickly as possible, right? Let's simplify this shit.
Yeah.
Like, we let's stop complicating shit with all of these nuances, right?
Yeah.
Let's keep it simple, guys. Like,
keep it simple, stupid.
Yeah.
Right.
Keep it simple, stupid. Kiss.
Kiss.
Well, with that, we are done.
Gone.